But what about Nurmagomedov? Because Khabib ragdolled everybody he's gotten in there with. That's the one guy you can't say he's close with, because everybody he's got a hold of, he's beating the f out of. That guy's special.
That's
Nurmagomedov is special. His wrestling and his ground and pound is just so ferocious. It's just on such another level.
Hey fight fans, welcome back to another video. I'm sure we're all familiar with the lightweight champion Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov, all the way from Dagestan, Russia, where he spent his early years wrestling bears and training in the mountains, to the UFC octagon, where Khabib has made a name for himself as one of the most dominant and impressive MMA fighters of recent memory. And in today's video, we'll be revisiting some of his most vicious performances and looking back on 5 times Khabib Nurmagomedov smashed his opponent. Number 5. Kamau Shalarus. This was Khabib's UFC debut at the age of 23, as a relatively unknown, undefeated Russian fighter who was yet to prove himself against high-level opposition. But it didn't take long for Nurmagomedov to impress and show the world he was more than ready for the big leagues, scoring a knockdown in the very first round and following up with some vicious ground and pound. His opponent weathered the early storm, but Khabib's non-stop forward pressure, takedowns, and top control proved to be too much for even the longtime grappler Shalarus to handle, and in the third round, Nurmagomedov cinched in a modified rear naked choke to end the fight. Number 4. Daryl Horcher, a brave fighter who made his UFC debut on short notice when he stepped in for the injured Tony Ferguson in one of the many failed scheduled bouts between him and Khabib. At the time, Nurmagomedov and Ferguson were already considered the top 2 lightweights by most of the hardcore fans, so very few people gave the unknown Horcher a chance to win the fight. He was a massive underdog because Khabib is not the type of opponent you can face unprepared. From the very start of the fight, Nurmagomedov pressured and used his superior wrestling to repeatedly take Horcher down and put him in terrible positions where he could not defend himself from the non-stop onslaught of ground and pound punishment raining down on him. One couldn't help but feel bad for Horcher. It honestly looked like he was brought in to save the event, keep Khabib active, and the fans happy. Horcher showed heart and toughness throughout the fight, but by the end of the second round, the referee had seen enough and rescued him from further damage, earning Khabib his first win in 2 years and putting him en route to the title. Number 3. Michael Johnson, a longtime stable of the lightweight division with wins over Tony Ferguson, Danny Castillo, Gleison Tibau, and Edson Barboza. Johnson entered the fight coming off of a devastating KO victory over current interim champion and Nurmagomedov's next opponent at UFC 242, Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Known for his dangerously fast hands, Johnson is capable of ending the fight in the blink of an eye. His speed was on full display, catching Khabib with multiple left hands in the first round, even seeming to wobble the Dagestani fighter at one point. Nurmagomedov recovered and continued walking forward, stalking Johnson and looking for a takedown. Eventually, the inevitable happened, and once the fight was on the ground, a non-stop bashing of Michael Johnson's skull ensued. Slowly, as the rounds went on, the menace seemed to crumble under the pressure and punishment. Johnson's corner was yelling at him to not give up, while Khabib took small breaks from fist-bumping his face to give words of discouragement. He was so confident he couldn't lose, he was even telling Dana in between rounds that he would smash his boy Conor.
Okay. Because we're gonna smash your boy.
The fight ended in the third via Kimura.
I wanna fight with your chicken because this is #1 easy fight in lightweight division.
Number 2. Edson Barboza. 1 year and 1 month later, Nurmagomedov made his return against another dangerous and explosive striker in Brazilian standout Edson Barboza. This time he picked up exactly where he left off the year before, putting intense pressure from the first to the final bell, crowding Barboza, getting inside on his kicks, making him backpedal to the cage, and taking him down. From there, Khabib dominated with non-stop ground and pound, in other words, business as usual for the Russian smashing machine. It was like the Johnson fight all over again, only more brutal and violent. You have to give it to Barboza, he showed incredible heart and survived the full 3 rounds. However, this fight will ultimately go down as one of the most one-sided beatings in UFC history, with every single judge giving Khabib a wide decision in multiple 10-8 rounds. It's one of his most impressive, if not downright scary, performances yet. Number 1. Conor McGregor. Since McGregor's move up to 155, the two had bumped heads on several occasions. But everything escalated once Khabib slapped Conor's teammate Artem Lobov, which sparked a dolly-throwing spectacle that solidified their beef to the world. In the days leading up to the fight, McGregor engaged in a whiskey-fueled rant about Khabib's father, brothers, religion, countrymen, and anything he could use to try and get in Nurmagomedov's head.
I think it's gonna be a long night for him.
And I called his father a quivering coward. Which? Because he showed fake respect out of fear. They were chased from their land. They were chased from their land to the edge of cliffs. You're a phony, a fake, and I'm going to expose you.
However, Khabib seemed unaffected, often telling the media he felt nothing. He seemed to relish in the fact that no matter what McGregor said, he would get to make him pay for his words inside the cage.
I'm come here for smash this guy.
When the fight started, it didn't take long for Khabib to shoot. Conor tried his best to defend the takedown, but like all 26 men before him, he was ultimately taken down and neutralized for most of the round. In the second, McGregor came out with a sense of urgency, not wanting to spend another round on his back. He stood in front of Khabib with his hands down, waiting to counter the takedown. But Nurmagomedov blitzed in with an overhand right that surprised and floored the Irishman. When McGregor got up, looking to get one back, Khabib then took him down, beginning a vicious assault on the ground, talking to Conor in between punches, like he had promised to do.
I'm gonna teach him inside the cage.
Fake
and
respect
then I know how
fear.
I like talk with my opponents. I'm gonna talk with him, teach him, like give him a little bit masterclass.
Landing from Nurmagomedov, who came into this fight unquestionably in the best shape of his life.
Khabib is trying to smash his face.
By the fourth round, McGregor seemed overwhelmed, tired, and unable to find an answer to the wrestling and top control. Exhausted, he exposed his neck for a split second. All it took for Khabib to apply a face crank and end the fight.
Make him humble, a little bit teach him, and you know, not only smash, like change his face. I want to change his face. Of course, with face, I can change his mind too.
Alright guys, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe. Checkmate MMA, signing out. Peace.